Previously on Cougan's Customs. Cougan was asked to make Garcia Hotspur from the video game Shadows of the Damned. Cougan said yes, choosing this Guardians of the Galaxy Starlord figure to start. There, now you're caught up. Please enjoy today's episode. Starting by scraping his whole face off with a Dremel. This allows me to build him a completely new face with epoxy putty. So I'm just going to start sculpting his whole face with this tool. It's got this sphere at the end. Pretty good tool. A lot of times people ask me, how long is it going to take to make this figure? And part of why it's so hard to estimate the time it's going to take is I don't know when I'm going to mess up or how bad. And here's an example of me messing up. What you're seeing me doing right now, the face that I'm making, I'm going to completely scrap this face because I realize at the end that it's way too big. So if that sounds frustrating to watch, go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. So if you want to avoid all that worthless sculpting, skip to about the 4-minute mark. So it was a little bit after this point that I just got frustrated. It wasn't looking right, it wasn't the right size. I decided I'm just going to make a plaster mold of the original Starlord figure's face. And I started by drilling a couple of holes in his head in order to hold some toothpicks to suspend his face over a cup of plaster, because I didn't want the whole head to be submerged. But first I need to coat his face with some floor waxing type stuff in order to be able to remove his head from the plaster. So plaster molds are pretty simple. Mix 2 parts plaster to 1 part water. So to measure out 4 spoonfuls of plaster. One, two, Then let the dog out. Good dog. Three and four. And then 2 spoons full of water. And quickly mix it. Now I'm sticking toothpicks in the side of his head in order to suspend his face in the plaster. And once again, something did not work out. His whole head is suspended above the plaster, not submerged whatsoever. So I'm gonna have to change plans. What I'm gonna do is let the plaster set up a little bit and then carefully press his face into it. That way it'll be thick enough that it won't go completely under. And actually I didn't have to wait, it was already thick enough that it's holding up. A few minutes later it's ready to take out. Now I'm gonna just push a thin layer of epoxy putty into there. A few hours later and I've got a face. The footage did not come out good, but if it had, you would have seen me mixing up some more epoxy putty and then using it to attach the face to the head. Right now I'm just taking a razor blade and scraping away some of the plaster that's stuck to his face. Now quickly painting over the face just so that I can highlight and identify any rough parts that will need to be smoothed out with sandpaper or the Dremel. Seems like a good place to cut it off. I am already working on the next video in which I sculpt his hair. My aim is to have that one up today too, so please come back soon, and thanks again for watching.